Yung pumapasok sa UA, ito po yung hindi nasasama sa
Alam mo,
NEP.
lahat yan matter of law eh. Law lang yan eh. Pass a law, di ba? Merging the program. What's wrong with that? Tapos uutang ka piecemeal. But in the end, pareho lang ang suma total.
One consideration that I am thinking of if we combine in only one, and that will be considered as programmed appropriations, then that means that we are asking the executive to commit to meet those targets, which in the first place
What
it
is
not
wrong with
able.
commitment? We are committed to the Filipino people. What's wrong with giving our commitment?
Your Honor, giving a commitment to a certain amount of revenue that it is able to earn, even if they desire to earn more, but more often we could not ask for a commitment if it is really not based on something that they could deliver.
So lahat ito na-i-implement lang after the fiscal year?
No, after the certification of BTR, which happens towards the latter part of the year.
Correct.
So,
Hindi ba totoo na yung excess ay ina-announce natin o kino-consider natin by the end of each quarter? Hindi ba ganun yon?
Minsan wala pong
Parang ganun yun.
walang excess revenue sa first
Paulit-ulit
quarter.
yung sinasabi kasi, di ba, na per quarter yan eh. Per quarter, hindi yan by the end of the year. There's no problem eh kung by the end of the year. So, everything is accounted for. Hindi ba? Na talagang meron kang excess. Kasi, napupuno, you already considered, okay, the funds that were not raised, the revenues that were not raised, at least a portion of it during the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Pero from my understanding, you don't do that. What you do is you determine the excess per quarter. Madam Solicitor General, can you please lead us to the wisdom that led Congress to make a distinction between the sources of funding for our deficit on one hand and the sources of funding for our unprogrammed funds on the other?
Your Honor, the sources of funding were based on the proposal by the President in the BESF that was submitted to Congress, in which it is our position is covered by the prohibition on the ceiling.
Alright.
The Constitutional Commission minutes, deliberations, would also tell us that the importance of not breaching it is because it is the executive that knows how much money it is able to raise, and therefore the Congress cannot drive the country into a spiraling deficit without giving due consideration to the sources of financing in the BESF. And may I clarify, Your Honor, based on the answer of our representative from DBCC, that the borrowings that define or that goes into the equation of the deficit target are based on a multi-year projection, and the wisdom or consideration by the executive with regard to which to fund, and also I would suppose because of the presentation of the executive to the Congress, that the consideration would be on the economic impact of funding or borrowing this much and funding the payment to the borrowing based on based on observing the deficit target that has been projected in a multi-year versus the unprogrammed appropriations to be funded and which will have an economic multiplier effect. So for example, housing projects would have a specific economic multiplier such that the Philippine government, when it decides to put its investment in a certain project, it has a computation as to how much jobs it will generate, how much contribution it will have to the GDP. And that's our submission, Your Honor.
Yes. So, are you saying, Madam Solicitor General, that when a certain item, if included in the programmed appropriation, will breach the limits imposed by the Constitution, the convenient thing to do is to move it to unprogrammed appropriation?
Your Honor, that is our understanding of
Yes.
Working within the fiscal space that is allowed to the executive in the execution of the budget.
So, in effect, there is a circumvention of the limitation because when it is in the programmed appropriation, there is a limit. But if you move it to the unprogrammed appropriation, sky is the limit.
Your Honor, it is our respectful submission that it is not a circumvention because what is being shown in the deliberations of the Constitutional Commission that the committed targets of the executive should not be breached is actually being observed. Number two, why do we not consider it as a circumvention? Because the Constitution also provides that the form, content, and manner of preparation will be prescribed by law. And this means that the power to define the manner of preparation and the content has been given to Congress.
Correct. That's why we go to the wisdom of Congress, in moving one item from program to unprogrammed funds. And it is clear that the movement is motivated by the intention of the political department not to breach. Because the breach is applicable, the limit is applicable to appropriated, up to programmed appropriation, but not to unprogrammed appropriation. So the unprogrammed appropriation becomes untouchable. All right. So since we are citing the statutory authority granted by Congress to move the programmed funds into unprogrammed funds, among others for avoidance of the limitations prescribed by the Constitution. Can Congress, by law, actually merge the sources from which funding is taken for all its priority projects, for all the priority projects of the government, under one single category of programmed appropriations?
Your Honor, yes, that is possible, Your Honor. And if I may clarify on the use of the wisdom of the Congress, is that we refer that because the power has been constitutionally given to a branch, it has given it the discretion for its own judgment call.
Very well said, Solicitor General. Discretion that must be sound.
Your Honor, that is always our hope that our leaders, especially those who have been elected, would make sound decisions. That is our hope, but based, and it is my respectful submission on the separation of powers, if a power is lodged in one branch, although it is subject to the review of the Supreme Court on the actions on whether they have been committed with grave abuse of discretion, may I respectfully reiterate that we will also look for the standards by which this honorable court will evaluate the actions.
Yes, Madam Solicitor General, you are assured that the court will act in accordance with the Constitution in resolving this case, as we do in all other cases before the court. So I go back to my question. Can Congress, by law, actually merge the sources and all the priority programs and projects under one single category of programmed appropriations?
The answer, Your Honor, based on the position of the Republic, is that it is possible.
Yes. So what is the advantage to the Filipino people of this merger of funds and programs under one single category that is programmed appropriations? What is the advantage of that to the Filipino people?
Your Honor, if I may, because again, based on our briefings, we have been made to understand that the flexibility that is needed by the executive has been there since time immemorial, and therefore that is the reason why even before the 1987 Constitution, there have been unprogrammed appropriations. So it refers to the speed and efficiency by which the executive can fund or address the programs, activities, projects that the Congress has already identified as important for the government.
So it is doable.
It is doable.
Yes,
Your
but
Honor.
you are invoking tradition and expediency.
Your Honor, by tradition, all I hope to emphasize is based also on the framework of our Constitution, which observes the separation of powers. We all know the responsibility of the Supreme Court as the one that has the final power to interpret the Constitution. However, in our daily life, the other co-equal branches have the responsibility to interpret as well the Constitution in accordance with how we understand it, and we will be limited by the Constitution itself. And that's why I try to give a historical context that it isn't specific to one administration, and that a co-equal branch has interpreted it in a particular way in order to also avoid a conclusion that it might be a weapon used by a specific administration. So only in the context of the coordinacy theory, Your Honor, that's the reason why I share the historical context.
Yes, Madam Solicitor General. So you're saying it's doable?
Yes, Your
Yes.
Honor.
Are you also saying that doing so does not generate any advantage for the Filipino people?
Your Honor, is your question whether what is the advantage of
Yes,
collapsing
yes.
it
I'm not collapsing. I'm not
or
for it.
merging?
Merging the sources, the funding, and merging the programs under one single category.
The DBCC representative is saying, well, it does not have a trigger, and that means that all will be funded. But again, the reason why the DBCC, the policy-making body, they have concerns or considerations with regard to meeting a deficit target. It has to do with our credit rating. It has to do with the economy.
Yes. So credit standing. It's okay. For program funds, we borrow. Correct? We
Yes,
borrow
Your Honor.
to cover funding, and for unappropriated or for unprogrammed appropriation, we also borrow money. So what credit standing is at stake when they are merged under one classification?
Your Honor, or maybe the technical expert may explain it better than
Yes,
I can.
please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll try my best. Well, normally, if you have only program, then that would be the one program expenditure. Then that would be the one that would require the borrowings, the deficit. But if you put more, like if you merge, including the UA and program appropriation, so you'll be having a bigger spending, and that would require bigger amount of borrowings.
Loans.
Yes.
Alam mo, pag may borrowing ka for program funds na 100 billion, and then saan program funds 100 billion, it's a matter of addition. There's only one borrower, the Republic of the Philippines.
Yeah.
So bakit mo siya i-split pa?
Ma'am, if I may elaborate.
Yes.
Yung for the unprogrammed funds, unprogrammed appropriations na borrowings, we normally put it there at the NEP level simply because it has not been approved at the ICC level. So we would want...
ICC.
Yeah, ICC is the Investment Coordination Council, which
It's a
approved...
different ICC I have in mind.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor. So this is the one that is headed by DepDev, and they're the ones approving the ODA loans.
Okay yun.
Pero kasi yung pumapasok sa UA, ito po yung hindi nasasama sa
Alam mo,
NEP.
lahat yan matter of law eh. Law lang yan eh. Pass a law, di ba? Merging the program. What's wrong with that? Tapos uutang ka piecemeal. But in the end, pareho lang ang suma total.
Your Honor, may
Yes,
be
yes,
allowed?
Soljan.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. One consideration that I am thinking of if we combine in only one, and that will be considered as programmed appropriations, then that means that we are asking the executive to commit to meet those targets, which in the first place,
What
it
is
not
wrong with
able.
commitment? We are committed to the Filipino people. What's wrong with giving our commitment?
Your Honor, giving a commitment to a certain amount of revenue that it is able to earn. So that, for example, for a household, there will be basis as to what amount a family can project as its revenues, which will be based on its salaries or based on the historical result of their business. And even if they desire to earn more, but more often we could not ask for a commitment if it is really not based on something that they could deliver.
Yes, we can commit only what we can earn and what we can spend.
Yes, Your
Correct.
Honor.
So it also prevents overspending. All right. I'll go to the next. Your excuse, sir. Thank you. Madam Solicitor General, who sets the target revenue at a given time?
The target revenue is the DOF or the DBCC, Your
Siya
Honor.
ulit?
Yes po.
Okay. Yes. Would you like to come back? All right. Thank you. Do you take into consideration, sir, the total cost of program appropriations when you set the target revenue? Yes?
When you say total cost
Yes.
of appropriation,
Total cost for program appropriations when you set the target revenue.
yes.
Yes, of
because
course.
we have a tolerable level of deficit that is also being planned for each year.
All right.
So, and then DOF, Department of Finance, would tell us how much they could only afford to collect in a given year, for
All
example.
right. So, is it possible that the target revenue would be set lower in order to create an excess revenue collection?
It would be difficult for me to answer that
Yes.
because that's actually the activity of the Department of Finance. What they would be doing at the DBCC would just be presenting their figures and for the economic managers to approve those numbers.
All right. So,
But
as an
to
expert as well
Yeah.
in economics and budget, is that possible that to adjust the excess or create an excess of revenue collection beforehand the target is already lowered? Can it be done? It's theoretically. I'm not saying you're doing it.
Yeah, meaning they can target a lower standard,
lower
bar, so
standard.
that they can breach it anyway.
Yes, so that
down the
that
line.
can be done. Yes.
Theoretically, yes,
Yes.
Your Honor.
In order to create an excess revenue collection, correct? To cover the
Either to finance the unprogrammed
appropriation
appropriation or to reduce the deficit.
or reduce the deficit. Which one comes first?
It depends on if, for example, there's a certificate. Let's say if we are in the month of May, and there's a budget request coming from the DBM to finance an unprogrammed appropriation item, then we would work on the submissions.
So it's the DBM that determines
If
which one should be given priority, the programmed items or the unprogrammed items?
we would be working on the availability of certified excess revenues, Your Honor.
All right.
So if there are no certification coming from the Bureau of Treasury, then we simply say
Yes.
no to those implementing agencies who are requesting for unprogrammed
So
appropriation.
theoretically speaking, excess revenue collection can be generated because it is subject to adjustment by setting a lower target revenue.
But for planners, Your
Do
Honor,
not change your answer.
No. Yeah,
You
yeah.
already said
But
yes.
part of good planning and foresight is to really look for the more precise
Correct.
number.
Yes,
of,
I'm for foresight.
Yes.
But my question is focused on whether this can be done to generate excess revenues to cover unprogrammed appropriations. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
Your Honor. may
yes,
I-
please.
Because he was looking at me, I feel
Okay.
obliged to say something. Theoretically, yes, it is possible, Your Honor, but I think I would like to continue your thought that the planners also have a mandate as to performing with the best interest of being the experts and the technical experts of the executive.
Yes. Very well said, Madam Solicitor General.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So, from what I gathered from the submission of the Solicitor General earlier, the practice is once excess revenue collections have been identified to exist for, let us say, the first quarter, then this excess would already be applied to unprogrammed appropriations, regardless of whether the full amount for programmed appropriations have already been realized. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. So the explanation to us was that, for example, there are certain revenues that may still be collected in the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and therefore has to wait for the timing when the programmed appropriations can be funded. But may I also add to that the advantage of being in the programmed appropriation is after the GAA, it has already the allotment order, which means that the government has actually funded the programmed appropriations, while on the other hand, the uncertainty of the unprogrammed appropriations is based on the fact that then they have to check if there is excess to be certified by the Bureau of Treasury, and they have to obtain the SARO, which are a couple of steps more and uncertain as to the timing.
Okay. I want to go back to your story about the family. Yes, the family budget that you presented
Yes, Your
during
Honor.
the first day of the oral argument. So, using the family budget that you presented during the first oral argument. So, ang ibig sabihin nito, imbis na siguraduhin na may sapat na pondo para sa pagkain at tuition fee at upa ng bahay. Dahil lang nagkataon na nanalo sa loto si nanay, gagamitin ang panalong ito sa pamamasyal sa Burnham Park. Kahit hindi tiyak kung may panggastos ang pamilya para sa pagkain, tuition fee at upa sa bahay sa mga susunod na buwan. Hindi ba nangyayari yan sa pamilya?
Yes, Your Honor. The analogy that we tried to include in our opening statement, of course, it reduces the situation into much simpler terms, but we were hoping to highlight the point of what are the regular expenditure that cannot be made dependent on an uncertain trigger versus the list of projects for the family, although important, will not be sure that can be funded. And that is from the perspective at the point of planning or passing the GAA.
Opo, Solgen, ito napakasimpleng senaryo lang. Hindi ba? Si nanay at si tatay parehong may hanap buhay. Ang sweldo nila ang pinagkukunan ng tuition fee ni kuya at ni bunso at mga pagkain at iba pang upa sa bahay. Okay. Yun yung program funds, hindi ba? Si kuya, yung tuition fee niya, nabayaran na ni nanay. Okay. Pero si Bunso, wala pa. Hindi pa nababayaran. Then, tumaya sa loto si nanay, nanalo ng 10,000 pesos. Imbis na gastusin niya yun para sa tuition fee ni Bunso, namasyal sila sa Burnham Park. Bumaba sila sa terminal ng Victory Liner sa katapat ng Supreme Court. Bumili pa sila ng strawberry jam at saka ubi jam. Okay. Si Bunso na-depress. Kasi bakit inuna pa yung pamamasyal? Samantalang yung tuition fee ko hindi pa nababayaran. Ngayon, sabi ni nanay at ni tatay, okay lang Bunso kasi alam mo nakaprogram ka sa sweldo namin. Dapat kailangan din nating mamasyal. Anyway, windfall naman to, hindi natin inaasahan. So gastusin natin para ma-enhance yung ating quality of life. Magkaroon tayo ng work-life balance. Pagdating ng susweldo naman kami sa susunod na buwan, pareho silang workers sa pabrika. And then sa susunod na buwan, pareho silang na-lay off kasi nagsara yung pabrika. Wala na ngayon tuition si Bunso. Lalo na na-depress si Bunso. Tama ba si nanay? Makatarungan ba yung nangyari kay Bunso?
Your Honor,
Oo.
maraming salamat po dun sa paglalarawan para medyo kitang-kita po yung punto po natin. Ang akin pong maiisagot, yun pong sa punto de vista po ng executive at saka ng Congress, pagkalabas po ng GAA, funded na po dahil nga programmed siya. Kaya kung matter of time po, baka po yun yung isang issue na kahit na committed yung target dahil baka maaaring hindi magkatotoo, kung pumasok na ang cash, dapat doon na gastahin sa program.
Tama yan.
Opo.
Kaya, ang tingin ko, dapat lahat ng sources of funding, iisa lang, one fund. Hindi ba? Bakit pa paghihiwalayin yung appropriated programmed appropriation? Iba yung kanyang panggagalingan. Iba rin yung panggagalingan ng unprogrammed appropriation. Ang gusto lang naman natin dun, ang gusto ng pamahalaan natin ay hiwalay sila para yung limitation para sa program, hindi ko i-apply dito sa unprogrammed. Hindi ba? Tapos, in the end, naku-confuse tayo kung ano yung priority natin talaga. Inuna pa na talaga yung pamamasyal kesa sa tuition fee ng bata.
Your Honor, in our briefing po, ang merong paliwanag po sa amin ang DBM na aside from when we say, did you fund a project? Our attention was called and said that there are two steps. One is issuing the allocation, the allotment release order, and the number two is the cash. Pagka po dumating na yung cash. At pag po dumating yung cash, meron pa po silang mga
Hindi yan
cash.
GCash. Hindi.
Hindi po. Pwede rin siguro. Yung pong cash, meron din sila pong mga policy dahil ito na po pumapasok na yung fungibility. Kaya maaari pong theoretically na una ring ibigay yung cash kahit na po nauna na yung allotment release order talaga. Pero kung cash ang pag-uusapan na may pumasok, ay baka po mas mailarawan niya ng mas maayos.
Sige nga.
Your Honor. So, tama po yung sabi ni Solgen. So, nag-release kami, DBM, ng SARO, appropriation, release order pa lang po yun, wala pong cash yun. Pero yung certification ni BTR is already cash, a windfall already. So, by that time na natanggap ng agency yung SARO, they can contract it out, the project, but not necessarily paying out the cash.
Bakit sinasabi mong windfall?
Yung windfall po galing sa BTR na meron silang excess revenue na. Yung
Excess revenue without quarterly. No? We don't take into consideration the collection for the following quarters.
Normally, actually, ang certification nila would happen towards the latter part of the year. That's actually by experience, the certification of excess revenue
So wala bang nai-implement na projects under program?
sa umpisa.
Sa simula.
Simula, totoo po yun. That's actually the problem also when there is...
So lahat ito nai-implement lang after the fiscal year?
No, after the certification of BTR, which happens towards the latter part of the year.
Correct.
So,
hindi ba totoo na yung excess ay ina-announce natin o kino-consider natin by the end of each quarter? Hindi ba ganun yon?
Minsan wala pong...
Parang ganun yun.
Walang excess revenue sa first quarter.
Paulit-ulit yung sinasabi kasi, di ba, na per quarter yan eh. Per quarter, hindi yan by the end of the year. There's no problem kung by the end of the year. So, everything is accounted for. Hindi ba? Na talagang meron kang excess. Kasi, you already considered, okay, the funds that were not raised, the revenues that were not raised, at least a portion of it during the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Pero from my understanding, you don't do that. What you do is you determine the excess per quarter.
Your Honor, if I may po.
Yes.
I think your recollection is correct because I think in the first or the second oral session, we were discussing the Araulio versus Aquino, and we were clarifying the concept that was explained in the motion for reconsideration, which is a quarterly report. And then subsequently, so we also asked the Treasury as to what do we have like quarterly targets with regard to the unprogrammed appropriations, and we were made to understand, in fact, so for example, for dividends, that they are going to certify that there is excess if the annual target. So we also thought that it's like a quarterly, but they corrected us in saying that the target, for example, for the dividend, if it's 20 billion, and that's the annual, not the quarterly. If and when it exceeds that, that's the only time that they will certify. We also thought that it was like a quarterly target, but
So they certify all at the same time, after the fourth quarter or by the end of the fourth quarter?
No po. Opo, not necessarily po. In fact, I think in the interpellation of Senior Associate Justice Leonen, he spotted that there was like a certification in the first quarter, and the representative from DBM clarified that it referred to a FAPS or foreign assisted project.
So are we saying that the priority programs, yung mga projects, flood control and all, they all happen at the same time? By the end of the quarter, of the fiscal year? Because that's the only time that the bulk of the funding shall have been raised?
Based on the statement of our representative from the BCC, it's usually towards the second semester of the year, and the SARO will be good for 2 years,
So
Your Honor.
nagre-release na rin tayo ng pera even before the end of the fourth quarter? Yes?
Ma'am,
facts.
possible na makapaghingi na after the SARO, we will be releasing the NCA when they require already that payment for their, for example, suppliers. But yung sinasabi ni Soljan kanina na once there was a certification from BTR, so money has already arrived, but it's very possible that the money that is there as a windfall may not be used for that.
Why do you use the word windfall?
Windfall meaning not program revenue, but it's
That's another
an
name
excess,
for-
excess revenue, you can say.
Okay.
Excess revenue, sorry, Your Honor.
Excess revenue.
Excess revenue. So this excess revenue that is in cash, since cash is fungible, very possible that this will be used for programmed items. And so ang mangyayari, this implementing agency who requested for money from UA might be asking for that money next year pa. So when it comes to attention to what is really more important project at a given period of time, the fact that the cash was already there, very possible that the cash was made to attend to those, we can say, social protection activities.
All right. So in August, your excuse again. Would you like to just stay there in case you are needed again? You don't mind, or you mind? You mind or you don't?
Your Honor.
Huh? Would you like to sit?
Thank you.
Sit down. Okay. In August of last year, Deputy Speaker and Antipolo Representative Ronaldo Puno made a public pronouncement that the House leaders noted certain problematic provisions in the 2026 National Expenditure Program submitted by the President to the House. Among others, he mentioned the zero allocations for multi-year programs, as well as provisions allocating budget to government projects that were already finished. According to Representative Puno, the House leaders recommended to Speaker Martin Romualdez that the NEP be sent back to DBM because of these problematic provisions, so the executive will be able to address them accordingly. Let's watch this video of Representative Puno.
Party leaders in the House of Representatives recommend sending back the 2026 National Expenditure Program to the Department of Budget and Management due to issues in allocations. In a press briefing on Wednesday, September 3, Deputy Speaker Ronaldo Puno says the party leaders already made a recommendation to House Speaker Martin Romualdez. The 2026 National Expenditure Program contains the proposed budget for next year.
We have decided as a group to recommend the return of the 2026 national budget to the DBM because we do not know how to deal with it. We have to practically redo the entire submission to us, and we do not want to be suspected of any untoward action. We don't want it to appear that we are not accepting the rightful recommendations of the DBM, and on the other hand, we do not want to be accused of also of replacing or amending by errata a huge portion of the national expenditure program that they have submitted to us.
All right, Soljan, as it was, the plan to return did not push through. Per subsequent pronouncement of the House party leaders sometime in September 2025, they said they already dropped the move to return the NEP to the DBM after the DBM promised to address the problematic provisions. I suppose this was done, the reason the 2026 GAA was enacted. Okay. My question is, were similar objections coming from the House also raised upon their receipt of the NEPs for 2025 and 2024 GAAs?
Your Honor, may I ask for the representative of the DBM to answer the question, Your Honor?
Who?
ASEC Angel.
Okay. The angel may come. ASEC Angel.
Your
What is
Honor,
your answer?
As to the return, I think the best thing to define would be the budget cycle, which is divided into 4 phases, with constitutional deadline, particularly on the submission of the President to Congress of the BESF. So at the point of September, it would already be past the 30-day deadline after the SONA for the executive to submit to the Congress the BESF. So at that point, we were already at the budget authorization phase. So with the exercise of the power of the purse, it would be the legislative who will have the power and the authority to discuss and revise the budget as submitted, subject to the constitutional limitations.
So, are you saying ASEC, Karen? Is that correct?
Angel.
Angel. Okay, Angel. Are you saying that Representative Puno his concerns regarding the so-called problematic provisions were not addressed by the DBM?
As far as I know, Your Honor, they did not pursue the recommendation to return the budget to the DBM. I think in recognition of the budget cycle po.
All right. So, your excuse,
Thank you po.
Attorney Angel, and the Solicitor General in the meantime. Thank you.